All right, guys, let's talk about these power vent window options that they had in the 60s for the Lincolns and Mercurys. We'll go over a little bit of the difference in the motors and stuff and do a little bit of explaining. This is a 68 Park Lane. I've had quite a while, and I've been going to do a video on it. It just sits in here covered up. I got the battery charger on it because the battery was really low. I want to get it out this summer and do a walk around video on it and drive with you guys. It needs a lot of stuff. I just can't get it out because I got too much stuff over there. And hopefully this spring I'll get this place cleaned up. But for 4 years you could get power vent windows in the Mercury. 65, 6, 7, and 8. And I did a little short on this yesterday. Let's see, the key is on. See. And another thing I did with these is Mercury did this, I don't know why. Originally, this was the left one, this was the right one. And it was the same with this. This was the left one, and this was the right front. And to me, they just seem backwards. So I switch them all around and make them, to me, easier to operate. And another cool thing about these cars, see if I turn the key off. Say you're outside, it starts raining, you don't have your keys, you've got what they call a bypass. You got your window lock, down, locks the windows out, center is normal, and then see, you can't do anything. But if you don't have your keys, all you got to do is hold this up. It's what they call bypass, and it powers your windows so they'll go up. Just like that. So let me turn the key back on. We'll run these other windows. Let's see. We got right rear over there. And we got right front. And left rear. Battery charger helps them. They're not normally that fast. So anyway, that's a pretty cool feature, the bypass feature. And I think Lincoln did that more so than Mercury. And I believe Cadillac and Oldsmobile did it too, but 4 years only in a Mercury for the bypass. So let's go over here and talk a little bit about these motors. I will say too, I got the MARTA report on this, and we're going to talk about it eventually. But they made 1,112 of these Park Lane convertibles. And out of that 1,112, only 62 were ordered with the power vent window option. The rest of them all had the cranks or manual windows. So let's go over here and check out these motors. All right, here's my shelf full of vent window motors. That's all Mercury there. And then this lower shelf down here is Lincoln. And I've got some laid out over here to show you, but let's see. Okay, this one here is 63, 4, and 5. Lincoln Continental, like the suicide door cars. And it's got this little tab here on top and a little coupler slid over that and then connected it to the vent window pivot. So they used this one in 63, 4, and 5 Continental. And also 64, 65, 66 Thunderbird. And believe it or not, even this motor, Imperial used it in the early Imperials, like the one that you'll see Mrs. Drysdale driving on the Beverly Hillbillies, where her limo, her Imperial used Ford Autolite window motors and for their power vents. They had their own drive assembly, but the actual motor itself, Imperial used Autolite. And then later, I think Imperial ran that power vent window longer than anybody, like through 63. And then they, sometime through the years, they switched and were using a GM window motor. So anyway, Thunderbird, Continental, and even Chrysler Imperial used this exact same motor. They had different drives. I think the Thunderbird had the same drive. And then 66, 67 Continental used this totally different looking drive. See, here's just the drive itself that the motor would bolt onto. So 66, 67 only were these. Then 68, 69 switched to this 2-wire motor, reverse polarity. See, these 3-wire ones, this black wire was just grounded at all times. And then the red got powered up to open it, and then the yellow got powered up to close it. But then these went to reverse polarity, just the 2-wire motors. But this is 68, 69 Continental only with this drive. Then 65, 66, and 67 Mercury used the same motor as they did in the earlier ones over there, but they had their own drive, totally different the way it bolted in. And then 68 was just like the 68, 69 Lincoln motors, but they had their own drive. See, they look just like the 65 through 7s, but this one's, see, it's kind of sticks out at an angle, and it's held on with 3 bolts, where this one is straight up and down, and it's held on with 4 bolts. So for 1 year only, 68 changed that vent window motor and then dropped it after that. They weren't available. And see the difference in the switches. See, the switches look the same. This is 65, 67. But see, since it's wired different and the motor was grounded at all times, so you had your dual switch here, and you had this piece of copper running across each one, and you just had one wire connected to it. So all this did was supply power to the red and yellow wire with each switch to send to the motor because it was already grounded. And then in 68, they changed it to a reverse polarity motor where you got to have power and ground both for up and, or back and forth in this case, instead of up and down. But they changed this where they had pins on the back that plugged into a plug. So here's the single one. Here's the single one for the 65, 6, and 7. See, again, just 3 wires because you're just supplying this power, gives power to the red and yellow. Where these for the 68 only, they've got to give a power and ground signal to the motor for it to work. So that's the differences between the motors. Like they were all the same, only different. Let me find one over here. I wanted to show you guys. I ran into it the other day. Where's that at? It was a Lincoln one. Is it this one? Yeah, I want you guys to see this. I don't remember where I got this, but this motor had got a bunch of water in it, and it's rusted so bad that the whole bottom's rusted out of it. It's got a big hole in it, but it still runs back and forth quiet as a mouse. You never know there's anything wrong with it. So anyway, that's the differences in the power vent window motors, at least 63 through 68, with the Mercurys and the Thunderbirds and the Lincolns. And like I said, even Imperial used this exact same motor that bolted onto their own drive in the early Imperials. Imperial never had their own power vent window motor. Just like Chrysler never had their own tilt column until 80-something. When it come to illuminated entry, Chrysler, I don't know when they finally got their own illuminated entry. I know in 81 Cordoba, I added it for a customer, and it was all GM. So every piece of that, except the actual lock cylinders They were Chrysler, but every other part to that illuminated entry system for Chrysler was GM. So anyway, there's your differences in your power vent window motors. Now, Ford never offered it, but they used the same manual vent window regulator with the crank on it. So you could actually unbolt that crank, and these bolt directly into a Ford. And I'm going to show you that before this video is up. But anyway, these are the easiest to find because it was 3 years, 65, 67. The 68s, they are rare to find. This is 1 year only, one car. So, all right, let's go out there and we're going to switch one out for you in an LTD I've got the door panel off of and show you how easy it is to add them if you find them. Keep in mind though, if you do add them to a car that didn't have them, like the Fords, you're going to have to come up with some sort of dual switch. And it's not going to match the switch in your Ford. I'm just telling you, they will work because the manual window regulator is the same 65 through 8, Ford and Mercury. So let's go swap one out. All right, let's see if I can get this out of here without knocking this camera over. Let's take the crank off. Well, it doesn't bump the camera. Now, you've got the one up here that holds the shaft to the regulator. The 7/16. Then these two are 1/2 inch. And then the vent window regulator just slips right down off of the shaft that comes down from the vent. And there it is. So now I want to do something else. I want to weigh them. Okay, this manual one weighs about 1 pound 2 ounces. Now, the power one for about 4 pounds 4 ounces. So that's quite a difference in the weight of your vehicle when you start adding all these power accessories. Back in the day, nowadays it's all plastic. It doesn't make that big a difference, but this stuff was solid metal. So let's get this thing in the car. All right, we're going to go down through this speaker hole and get it up here so I can get a hold of it. And I see this one is going to bolt in this top hole here instead of this bottom one, but this one's the same. But we can use the same attaching hardware. So it's going down the assembly line. If it got manual or power, they had everything right there. Got to get it fed through that hole there. And they give you kind of an oval shaped hole, so you've got a variance there. All right, let me see if I can get that socket on there. I can't tell if I got it started or not. Got to change sockets. Okay. Let's grab the wire. And get it up through here. Now, I will pull this back so we can see if it works. All right, I think you can see it from there. So let's get the black wire hooked to ground, and red is open. Just like that. Yellow is closed. Just like that, you got power vents. Direct bolt in. So this is a Ford, but like I'm saying, Ford never offered it. Mercury did. 65 through 8. Remember, 68 was a one year motor only. So I hope that helps you guys understanding these power vent window motors on the 60s Lincolns and Mercurys. And if you want to add it to a Ford and you can find them out of a 68, well, good luck, but they are out there. You just got to watch Marketplace all the time and ask people. So this is one of my parts cars. I'm trying to, like I said in my previous videos, I'm trying to restore a 68 Ford convertible. So I've got this parts car, and I've got that parts car, and I've got that parts car, and then that 68 over there is going to go bye-bye real soon. I'm going to have to do a YouTube video on it. I'm not going to part it out. So if you like this video, please, by all means, hit the thumbs up and subscribe to my channel, and comment on there. That really helps me out. I'd appreciate it. There's a look at the prairie out there in God's country. So anyway, till next time. I think the next video we will do on the Hollander Interchange manual will show you a little bit more about these vent window motors and some other parts, how you look them up and how you interchange them, and see what fits what from different years and models. So thank you very much for watching, and stay tuned. Please subscribe.